Chapter 9. Temujin lay there, stunned. Tarkatoy raised his arms in victory. All his goons cheered. Creepy Eye smiled an extra slimy smile. We rushed over to TJ and helped him to his feet. I don't understand. I am Borjigan, he said. You could tell he was really torn up. It wasn't you, TJ, Fred said. They cheated. But the truth didn't seem to matter. Tarkatoy was already heading toward the shaman to claim the scepter. The matter is settled, Tarkatoy declared. I will be the new Khan. Then he turned to Temujin and snarled, and you, little flea, are free to go. Temujin was still in shock. He looked around at the faces of people who had once supported him. Then he turned and raced out of the yurt. Creepy Eye slipped away after TJ. We made our way through the crowd to follow them. Wait, Fred called to TJ as we headed toward the yurt flap, but suddenly our path was blocked by two of Turkey Toe's henchmen. Move it, yak breath, said Fred, but these guys clearly weren't taking any orders from Fred. Look, said Sam, pointing outside. It was Temujin. He was being dragged away by Creepy Eye. He was in big trouble. We had to do something. Temujin's being yurt-napped, I yelled at the elders. Two thugs dragged us off to shut us up, but Fred reached out and yanked a rope attached to the yurt. The yurt walls collapsed like a deflating balloon. In the confusion, the thugs loosened their grip, and Fred, Sam, and I slipped out from under the yurt. There he is, said Sam in the distance. TJ was struggling against Creepy Eye. We took off, running in their direction. Uh-oh, we've got company, I said. Tarkatoy's goons were right behind us. We ducked for cover as arrows whizzed past our ears. The warriors were gaining on us, and there was nowhere to go. A huge flock of sheep was blocking our way. We had to think fast. Mutton merge, I yelled to Sam and Fred as I dove into the woolly roadblock. But my allergy, Sam protested. A well-aimed arrow whistled past his ear. That changed his mind. Sam joined Fred and me in the pile of sheep. When the warriors approached, all they saw was your typical outer Mongolian sheep flock. We had completely pulled the wool over their eyes until Sam let out a huge sneeze. Achoo! Echoed through the air, blowing our cover. Sam tried to disguise it with a weak bah, but the thugs were on to us. They waded into the flock and cornered 3 suspicious-looking sheep. Luckily for us, they picked the wrong puffballs. We crept up behind the goons and knocked them into the mud. But we didn't even get to finish our high fives. The thugs got back on their feet, and now they weren't just armed Mongolian warriors. They were muddy and mad armed Mongolian warriors. So much for plan A. We needed a plan B. I spied a camel cart nearby. This way, I called to Sam and Fred. I'd never driven a camel cart before, but this seemed like the perfect time to start. Fred and Sam crawled into the cart as I jumped onto the surprised camel's back. I took up the reins and gave the camel a kick. Yee-haw! I yelled as the camel took off toward the mountains. I was a real outer Mongolian cowboy. We jumped and bounced and rocked our way over some very bumpy ground. I looked over my shoulder to watch Tarkatoy's thugs disappearing in the distance. Driving one of these is a piece of cake, I said, which is exactly when the camel, decided to make a complete stop. Sam, Fred, and I flew into a shiny bush. Ow, said Fred. Oof, I said. A real piece of cake, said Sam. We sat there, stunned and aching, for a few seconds. Well, that was fun, said Fred. Now, how are we going to rescue TJ? The fall must have jolted Sam's brain because he was suddenly dying to tell us something. Guys, listen, he said. I figured out what Temujin really is. When he said Khan, it hit me. He's Genghis Khan. Then Sam paused and gave Fred and I the look, the one where we're supposed to be impressed by something amazing he's just said, not getting the reaction he was looking for. Sam plowed on. Genghis Khan, he said even more dramatically, as in the greatest conqueror of all time, as in the guy who ruled the largest empire ever? Interesting, said Fred, doing his best to humor Sam. So anyway, how are we going to rescue TJ? Sam smacked his head in disgust. But I was with Fred. This was no time for one of Sam's history lessons. Temujin was in trouble, and we needed a game plan. Turkey Toes men are all over that camp, I said. There's no way we can go back without getting killed. We were just letting this thought sink in when our camel added his thoughts on the subject by spitting a giant green loogie on my head. The phlegm monster had nothing on this guy. Ew, said Sam, holding his head. Ugh, said Fred, grabbing his stomach. I reached up and felt the sticky glob in my hair. That gives me a great idea. Chapter 10. Back at the camp, we found the yurt Temujin was being held in. From outside, we could hear his voice. You festering wart, TJ yelled angrily at someone inside. Why am I being held? I demand that you release me. Oh, shush, a boy answered back. You're not going anywhere, not until Tarkatoy decides what to do with you. It was time for us to make our move. At this point, I should probably mention that Fred, Sam, and I were dressed like servant girls. It was all part of my plan. See, the camel spit made me think of covering my head by wearing a wig, which made me think of wearing a disguise, which made me think, well, whatever. We dressed up like servant girls to sneak back into camp. I walked into the yurt carrying a large tray of food. Supper time, I did in my best servant girl voice. The guy guarding Temujin turned out to be Turkey Toe's little brother, Pumlik. When he saw us come in, he looked up. What's going on? He asked suspiciously. Fred wasn't too thrilled with the whole dress like a girl thing, but Sam really got into character. We're traveling caterers, Sam said in a high-pitched voice. We're bringing you a nice heaping plate of I can't believe it's not mutton. I hate mutton, Pumlik griped. I want bordzig. I'm so sorry, Fred said. Somebody must have messed up your order. Pumlik gave Fred the once-over. Hey, you're cute, he said. What's your name? What's it to you, you big... Fred grumbled in a very ungirlish voice. But Sam interrupted before Pumlik got suspicious. I'm, Shashlik, Sam blurted, then motioned to Fred and me. And these are my sisters, Saltlick and Cowlick. Pumlik smiled smugly and said, My brother is the new Khan, so which one of you gets to be my girlfriend? Then he gave Fred a wink. Want to meet me later by the sheep dung pile? Fred pulled back a fist to whack Pumlik, but I grabbed him before he got the chance. I hate to mess with your love life, Cowlick, but aren't you forgetting something? I said, giving Fred the eye. Fred got the hint. He gritted his teeth and put on his best girl voice. Would you mind holding the drink tray while I pour? He squeaked to Pumlik. For you? Anything, Pumlik said, wiggling his eyebrows at Fred. And if you could just hold on to my food tray, too, while I serve, I added. But of course, Pumlik said, grinning like a goofball. Once both trays were in Pumlik's hands, we let him have it. Fred and I clanged the trays on either side of Pumlik's head like a giant set of cymbals. Pumlik fell to the ground in a dizzy heap. We rushed over to TJ and started untying the ropes that bound him. Hurry, said Sam. TJ, listen, Fred said quickly. That wrestling match. Turkey Toes cheated. His goon pulled a knife and blinded you. What? Said Temujin. It's true, I said, which means you're the real Khan. Pumlik was starting to come around. Temujin clonked him back to dreamland. Come on, guys, said Sam. Let's go. No, I cannot, Temujin said firmly. What? Said Sam, Fred, and I shouted at the same time. Tarkatai is planning to announce his engagement to Borte, TJ explained. I must stay and rescue her. That's crazy, said Sam. Once Turcotoy's men spot you, you'll be dead mutton. You're right, TJ said with a grin, but I have an idea. Chapter 11.